That one's screaming. That's a good size one. Grande gallo. So my name is Jordan. Thanks for clicking on the video. I live here in Costa Rica and I have thousands of hours here on the water consistently catching big fish, big roosters, big mackerel, snapper, you name it, we catch it here and we catch them big. And I'm assuming that you guys want to catch big fish, so I'm going to share with you a good lure selection, profiles, sizes, styles, and we're going to go through all the philosophy, a deep dive into what lures work best, some that you absolutely can't live without if you're coming down here to Costa Rica to catch your PB, your dream fish. So I'm going to give you 3 poppers, 3 stick baits, and some other good ideas to bring with you while you're fishing down here in Costa Rica to help you guys get on the fish fast and consistently catch them while you're here. So stay tuned, we're going to go through it all. And remember, this is actually a series that's going to talk about lure selection, we're going to talk about gear, we're going to talk about actions and philosophies, how to catch the fish, how to land the fish, and we're also going to talk probably about the most important thing, which is going to be spot selection. I think I'm going to break it into 3 videos, so this is going to be the first one, so stay tuned for the next ones coming out in the near future here, but let's get into it. All right guys, so let's talk a little bit about philosophy before we get into lures, because I think this is actually a really important section that needs to be talked about and dispel some of the myths that are out there on YouTube of people suggesting lures that are either undersized or not suitable for if you do hook up to a big fish. And like I said earlier, I'm just assuming you guys are here to catch big fish. That's what Costa Rica is known for. It's an absolutely epic fishery and there are some really big fish out there to be had. You have to have a couple of things lined up. First would be gear. I don't think, as far as like information that I think you need to know about what not to do, one thing I would highly advise not doing is counting on a reel like this, which is, oh, it's tight. That's my Saltiga 14K, and this is a beast. It can drag big fish, but casting all day long at big fish and getting good long casts out of this reel consistently all the time throughout the day that you're supposed to be fishing, this will wear you out faster than you think it will. A much more suitable setup for the style of lures that I'm going to be suggesting would be like some Shimano Saragossa 5K, all the way up to like an 8,000 size. Let's talk about lure sizes. I think this is really important. One of the reasons I would not go with small baits, and a lot of people say, oh, small baits catch big fish. That can be true, but it's more often the case that bigger fish hit bigger baits, and that is specifically because the energy that a fish is expending, they're conscious of how they expend their energy. And a bigger fish is going to go for a bigger meal because they're spending a lot of calories to eat that fish. They want a big payoff. It's all about the payoff. The other thing about bigger baits is they make more commotion in the water. They're easy to be spotted. They make more noise. They make more flash. And they stay down in really rough scenarios where there's big waves or chop or it's a little bit sporty out there. If there's high winds, bigger baits cast further. They tend to go a little bit longer on wind in the face scenarios. They buck the wind a little bit better, and that's why I'm going to suggest these lures coming up, and I'm going to show them in a range of different sizes because I think there is an application for a little bit smaller baits. But let's start out in the realm of like 120 to like 170 up to 200. That's where you should be really focusing and get a lineup of these baits in multiple different color patterns and in different sizes. But you're going to want to focus on 150, and I'll say that again. I would focus on 150 being your key range for size on the baits that you're going to be tossing here from the beach or from the rocks. I find it's the sweet spot. You can cast it all day long. They catch big fish. They also catch small fish, and you have a good chance at catching a giant because it's the average size of a good bait here. It's easily castable. They're not too expensive. They work really well. They have decent hooks out of the box in those sizes, and they're the best presentation in my opinion with the versatility in mind. So let's get started. So let's start with like a runner-up or an honorable mention. I think these do have an application. I've used them a couple different times and they work pretty well. It's the Mag Daughter. This is a 165 in like a mackerel / sardine color pattern. They come with good size hooks out of the box. You can catch a small fish with these and they handle big fish very well. The action is okay. They don't cast very well, but often you don't need to cast very far. You're literally standing on the food plot or you're standing on the place where they're hunting fish. So you have to have a bait that's going to work well out at distance, when you're retrieving it fast, when you're moving it quickly through the water, and once you get it back into the rocks, you want to be able to work it slow enough so it still looks alive, but you're not having to rip it fast. It can work in fast and slow scenarios. So this one's a decent one. A good twitch will get this working. You can rip it fast. It does move a lot of water. It has a really good profile, and I have caught some big fish on this. Another good plus is it comes in different sizes. This is like a mullet basically. This is the Mag Darter 105. And it comes with actually a good single on the back. This is great for snook. The only time I would suggest throwing like smaller baits like this would be for snook. Snook loves small baits. But any other species typically will be bigger fish that like bigger baits in this size and this range. And as I mentioned before, if you're on the rocks, you're on the feeding zone for the fish. So castability is like secondary to the action of the lure and the ability to catch a fish and bring it in safely without having hooks bend out and having major failures on the lure itself. So in third place, I would say it would be lures like this. It would be the Hydro Minnow by Yo-Zuri, or it would be the Daiwa SP Minnow. These catch a lot of fish. You have the opportunity to catch mackerel, snapper, jacks, obviously, rooster fish, and everything in between. And they throw out a lot of light. They throw out a good amount of splash. They do dive subsurface, a couple feet under the water, which is okay. Personally, I like ripping things on top of the water and porpoising in that, and we'll get into that later. But when you're under the water and you can only move at a certain pace, and after that they just kind of pop out of the water and do weird things. But this style of lure has caught me many fish here in Costa Rica. I really do like these. I think they're great to have in the tackle box. It's like a staple for every fisherman to have like a Daiwa SP Minnow in saltwater fishing conditions. They don't cast too great, but they do catch a lot of fish. And when you're in closer to the rocks and the lure is down at your feet, they do work pretty well at slow speeds when you have to work. If a fish chases it all the way into the rocks and you have to wait for him to get it and you have to twitch it a couple times, it's a good bait for that. These do work for snook as well on the beach and the little surf there. I have found that these don't work great for rooster. One of the reasons is because you can't get it up to speed where they're actually going to attack and go crazy and frenzy over these guys. But these do work really well for other species like mackerel. You can catch a lot of different snapper and stuff in the rocks with these. They do tend to get dangled when there's a lot of obstacles at your feet. They dive a little bit and they'll hook on the rocks like Velcro. So it's a good like third place, I would say, for these. Good to have in the bag. Works really well for snook and from the sand. So put these in your tackle box. My number 3 selection would be from Nomad. And you can see these are pretty battle worn. Most of these are coming off the injured list and they're not actually in use, but these work really well. Even in this condition, they can catch fish, minus the fact that the hooks are a little bit rusty, but some of them are still pretty sharp. These are very durable. They work really well for rooster fish. They work well for mackerel, and they will do well for snapper as well. You could use these for snook. The Riptide 155 is one of my favorites. It's a heavier lure. And the sinking, this is a fast sink. It's a little bit heavier. If you're going to go this route, I would suggest going with the floating stick bait. Anywhere between like 125, 130 all the way up to like 170 is like a good range to go with. I find the sweet spot is 155 in the floating from Nomad Riptide. Really like these. They do have a through plate, so they're wired through, very tough. If you do catch a fish and you have a big enough setup to really haul them and give them the sauce, this is a good one that'll stay intact. And they come with great hooks out of the box. These come with BKK hooks right out of the box, one of the best hooks. And it's just a really easily fished lure that works well ripped, really fast for rooster fish. And once you do slow it down, it has a really nice action to it as well. You can work it right up to your feet and get hits right at your feet there. So that's a great one. Number 2, I would say, is the Nomad Madscad. I love this in 150. This is a sinking. You can get these in floating and sinking. I do actually like the sinking. It's a little bit heavier. The downfall to this one is going to be working it slow at your feet. It's really tough to work slow. It loses a lot of the action, but it is a great lure to rip on the surface for rooster fish and mackerel and other species. And snapper, if they do get a hold of this, again, it has an internal plate here where all your terminal tackle is connected to each one of your hooks. You're not going to lose a fish on this. This one has been eaten so many times by snapper, snook, roosters, mackerel, all that good stuff, even jacks, and you can see it's absolutely beat up. The rocks do a number on the lures here, so this has stood the test of time. It's a very tough lure. I love Nomad stuff again because it comes with BKK out of the box, but I love the profile. It casts a mile, It's extremely tough, and the action on this at slow speed and at fast speed is very good. It turns the roosters on, it turns the max on, and if you do work it slow, a snapper will come up and hit this. So I do love this. They come in smaller sizes too. This is great for snook or smaller species if the big fish aren't inshore. This is a good alternative to catch whatever's on the rocks. This is great for snook. This size, I believe, is a 90. It's the only time I would really go small again is for snook, and if you're on the beach, fishing the gutters or fishing the rocky points on the beach in the sand, that's a great option. They come in great color patterns. They work really well at slow speed and high speed, and this is a snook magnet, works really well. Nomad Madscad 90, slow sinking. So my all-time #1 bait here, hard bait, plastic, whatever you want to call it, artificial, is #1 for a reason, and I've tested it against a number of different artificial baits here in Costa Rica, and it has always come out on top. A lot of the local fishermen who are really experienced here also do the same. They have a multitude of different colors and sizes ranging from 120 all the way up to 170, even sometimes 200, depending on what you're fishing for. But that would be the Yo-Zuri Hydro Twitch bait, the Hydro Twitch. This is the 150 sinking. This one has caught me my biggest rooster fish this year, and a buddy of mine caught a very, very large rooster fish from the rocks with the same bait and a different color pattern. But this is a great bait. The inshore 3D is also a good one. I think that one runs only up to about 150. And you can get the Hydro Twitch. They're a little bit tougher, a little bit bigger and heavier. Great for big fish. I love these lures. They come in multiple different sizes. So this is going to be basically the 3D inshore version. This is great for snook. This is great for snapper. This is great for mackerel and the like. This is something I would toss on a day where it's getting pretty slow and there's only smaller fish around. It's a great option to have for fishing from the beach. The Yo-Zuri has the most versatility. It comes out of the box with decent hooks that last a decent amount of time. They're sharp. I've hooked really, really big fish with this. They stay pinned, and when you bring them in, they don't de-hook, and it's great. It's just a great lure. You can work it fast. You can slow it down. You can rip it on top of the water and porpoise it. They make a bunch of noise, and if you get the right color patterns, they throw out a lot of flash. So it's a great lure. I would suggest if you do get these, get them in the 150, get them a little bit smaller, get them a little bit bigger, and find out what works for you on that day. But these are basically consumables in my opinion. The reason I don't spend a ton of money on expensive lures like Molossi or Siren is because they get beat up so quickly. I have the proof. I've caught a lot of fish on this, and it's just been something I really, really like to fish. It casts a mile, and it's easy. You can put this in anyone's hands and have them catch a fish as well. It's dummy proof. Go with this. Put it in your tackle box. It's a really, really, really good choice. I like popping. Popping's something I really enjoy. However, I found that if you're in front of fish, poppers work sometimes, whereas the twitch bait, stick bait works almost all the time. The only caveat to that would be like if fish are deep and you have to call them to the surface and they're not responding to like the flash of the lure or the speed of the lure or the noise that it's making in the water, popper can be a good option. Popper will wear you out pretty quickly, and it's kind of like a one-trick pony, with the exception of a couple that I'm going to name here that have a little bit of versatility. And one of the reasons I love one of these top three so much is because it's a popper that has versatility, which is almost unheard of. And yes, I did think I would come down here and cast really big poppers and catch really big snapper from shore, and it's just not the case. You don't catch a lot of snapper here from shore. Typically they're just offshore, just out of reach on the rocky bottom reefs, just off the shore in about 60 to 80 feet of water, what I found here. And it's just really tough to get out to deep water from shore here. So I started throwing stuff like this, and I found out very quickly that it's not really a great option for an angler that's trying to catch big fish often. This can catch you a fish. It is very tough on your gear, tough on your reels, rods, and your back. And this does have a place. In my opinion, the place for something like this is more offshore, where the fish are very active all the time, and you have a good chance of bringing up a big cubera with this, but I haven't seen it here on shore. I've fished so many thousands of hours, and I do still try to cast things like this out there, and I find it's just not the best option. I think there are way better options than going with something like this. but it might be something you want to keep in your tackle box. So having a good 8-inch, 9-inch popper, great, give it a shot. I think you're probably going to say, why didn't I, if you didn't. So go ahead, bring something like this if you want to. So here's like a really crazy outlier, kind of like a wild card, and it would be a popper that I just happened upon because I wanted a bunch of one type of popper just in case I lost them or they broke or they wore out pretty quickly. And what I keyed in on really quickly was that these are no joke. They're from Amazon. This one actually has a through wire, and some do, some don't. But I have caught so many rooster fish on this profile of popper, and that is simply because of the fact that it can be worked fast, it can be worked slow. On slow action, it does put out a decent amount of water with the size cup that it has in the front. But when fish get close to this, they don't get turned off by the fact that it has some weird alien looking skinny neck, fat butt, and like huge cup face. So sometimes when you pop and they come up to check it out, they're gonna see, okay, that's not the profile of what I wanna eat. Whereas something like this has the slim profile of either a wounded fish or a fish in general that might be fleeing or dead. It's a great profile. They have like 5 or 6 ball bearings inside that make a ton of noise. You can rip these things fast on the surface. That creates a long bubble trail behind it. When they're out of the box, they're actually really shiny and they throw a lot of light as well. They come with decent sized hooks out of the box, and you can typically get like 3 of these for under $30. And I've absolutely beaten the absolute shit out of these things, and they still catch fish. I think they have a lattice internal construction that keeps them one piece. I've caught 30, 40 pound roosters on this. I've caught snapper. I've caught a ton of mackerel on these. I've caught snook on these as well. They have stood the test of time, even though they're an Amazon product. Not bad. So I think it's THK Fish that made this one. And they came in a 3-pack with like this color selection. I'll show the pack, but there are some out there that I've bought here in Costa Rica that are actually better construction than the THK Fishing ones. And like I said, this one actually has a through plate. You can see the plate instead of wire. It's actually a metal plate inside of this. Makes a ton of noise. It catches so many fish. You're gonna think I'm crazy for suggesting a lure this cheap, and I understand that. There are better options. They have something in this profile. I'll throw a picture up, but I think that would probably be a better option than this. It's just what I tended to have here on hand. I brought like 50 or 60 lures with me, and like these are just ones that really stuck out as like, wow, this can catch a lot of different fish. It's easy to cast. It can be worked at multiple different speeds, from shallow beach scenarios all the way out to deep rocky reefs. It catches fish nonstop. Yes, it doesn't make a huge pop, but it makes up for it in many different ways. My number 1 is going to be the Nomad Chug Norris. I love this one. Poppers like this come with BKKs out of the box. They have a big cup face for throwing a ton of water. They're very shiny out of the box. This one actually caught fish today, and it's been beaten to absolute hell. But if they get beat up, they still catch fish, so don't be discouraged. A couple other poppers that I would definitely suggest would be the Yo-Zuri Mag Popper. Those are great. I love the, what is it called? The Halco Rooster Popper is actually really good. I found them to be pretty good. They're a little bit oversized body-wise, but not being too heavy. So they don't cast great in the wind, but they do catch fish. They have a very unique cup face, so they throw a lot of water. You can rip them pretty quickly. They're tough. Halco products are pretty good. But there you go. So there's the poppers and the stick baits or twitch baits that you should bring with you. Now let's talk about like the category of other. What other lures are good to bring with you? In the category of like other or subsurface, I want to talk a little bit about why I don't think subsurface lures or diving lures are particularly well suited for fishing on the rocks here or even from the beach. On the rocks and the beach, there tends to be a lot of obstacles in the water, whether it be washed out logs, coconuts, leaves, a lot of stuff that you can hook up on. Subsurface lures get stuck on rocks more often. You're going to catch a lot more of the junk that's in the water than if you're skipping on the surface. So a lure like this, which is a subsurface lure, it's a Nomad Vibe. They're heavy, they cast a mile, and they're meant to go all the way to the bottom and then vibrate it up and then drop down and vibrate it up, and you bring it all the way back to you. You retrieve it all the way back to the rocks or to the beach. Again, I would highly urge you not to cast anything subsurface here. You'll spend a lot of time trying to retrieve lures that have been dangled up on submerged logs or rocks or stuff that's out in the water, and you're going to lose a lot of stuff and get frustrated. And I think you're better served top water. Top water is king here, and I think focusing on top water is way more important than trying a variety of different lures that work in different water columns, because you're going to lose a lot of gear and get frustrated very quickly. I think this does have a place if you're in a spot that's pretty clear, few obstacles, but also deep enough water between like 15, 25, 30 feet, which is really tough to find. This does have its place. This is more for kayak fishing or boat fishing, but it's a good honorable mention or other that you should bring with you. I think it does have its place, so it's worth mentioning here. If you're after snook, this is a good one to have. It's a spook. So like a Hedon spook does work well for snook. However, I found that any type of water that's not flat and calm, this has a lot of trouble being worked. It could be worked in river mouths, in like sweet water, or like mix of salt and fresh water. This can do a really good job for snook. I don't find this to be very productive for me. I very rarely will use this unless I'm targeting snook, and the conditions have to be really right for this to work from the beach or from the rocks if you're after snook. You guys might be asking yourself, oh, he didn't mention GT ice creams, or he didn't talk about like casting metals. Okay, so I've fished next to guys that brought that stuff here because they watched too many videos on Cabo, too much stuff on fishing in Baja, where every cast you're catching a fish. You could throw your boot with a hook on it and catch a fish there. This isn't Cabo. It's not like what you see on YouTube. The fish here are wary, they're smart, and once they get close enough to the lure, if it doesn't have the profile of a fish here, they just don't bite. I've seen it firsthand where I've fished multiple different days where guys have been casting like GT ice cream profile plastic, or I've seen guys casting metals here. Yes, you can catch like mackerel on metals. I'm not arguing that. That's for sure. But if mackerel are out there, there's probably roosters and other really big game fish that won't hit metals. I've rarely, if only once, seen a rooster being caught on like a decent sized metal that is geared for that style of fishing. And more often than not, you're way better served having a profile bait that is shaped like a fish and looks like a fish, so when they get close enough, they're enticed to hit the bait. So leave your GT ice cream at home, leave your whopper flopper, fick fucker, or like buzz bait, whatever you got. If it has a gimmicky name, please just leave it at home and fish the baits that I'm telling you, because more often than not, there's other species around and you have a much better chance at catching a rooster here, a mackerel there, and something else in between that you would have to ordinarily just change your lure selection, whereas this one style lure that I've already showed you guys is way more effective at catching a range of different fish in a range of different speeds and retrieves, all the way up to your feet, and being able to work slow, where like a GT ice cream falls short, or like even a casting metal will fall short. Once you have to slow it down or retrieve it all the way up to the base of the rocks where your feet are, those lures fall short. And I think they fall short in the fact that they struggle at catching a multitude or a range of different species and in different sizes. So there's a reason behind all this, and there's a reason why I'm telling you to leave the GT ice cream at home. There's a reason why I didn't mention any casting metals. I don't use them. A lot of people don't use them anymore, and especially the locals, because they don't work as often as like a Yo-Zuri Hydro twitch, or even a good popper that can be worked fast and slow. So if you focus on those, I guarantee you'll catch more fish. You won't catch like one fish one day and then like go a week without catching a fish. You have a way better chance at catching fish if you listen to what I've said. I put in a lot of time A and B testing lures against each other. And please keep in mind, it's not Cabo. It's not other places in the world where you're casting and catching fish all the time. The fish here are pressured. They're smart. They attack, but they don't always hit. Or they'll chase, and they won't hit. It's because they don't like what you put in front of their face. So if you put something in front of their face that works, you can change the speeds, colors, or sizes. Perfect. That's where you want to be. Still a little bit on the subject of like other, and I think it is a good idea to bring some jigs with you. Jigs from the rocks, they do work. You can catch species that usually aren't on the list of things that would hit topwater stuff, or even like divers or any type of like lipped baits. And those type of fish would be like spotted rose snapper, mangrove snapper, some types of jacks. You can catch permit here, which is really fun. Bluefin trevally will hit jigs too. So I do keep some jigs. These are usually for kayak fishing for myself, but I do have a couple different jigs that I keep. This is a streaker micro jig series by Nomad. I like these. Typically I'll put a couple different assist hooks on these so I can catch something really small, like the spotted rose snapper, that are good for like whole fried fish. So if the bite's turned off and there's no big fish around, it's a great way to still entertain yourself, catch some dinner, and have a great time doing it. So I do actually keep jigs in the box. Stay tuned. Next, we're going to talk about gear like rod, reel setups. We're going to talk about what stuff to put in your backpack, what you absolutely need to have here. Talk about good footwear. We're going to talk about how to fight a fish, what are good scenarios where one method might work over the other. We're also going to talk about something that I think is way understated and almost ignored by anglers that are coming here from other countries or other places, and that is going to be spot selection. Spot selection is key. Every spot here is beautiful. Every place you run into here on the beach or the rocks, every place looks fishy, but the truth of the matter is not every spot is great for fishing. Not every spot has fish consistently, and not every spot is going to be productive when it should be. So being able to have the tools in your bag to select a good spot, scout it, find it, be able to fish it is really important. So stay tuned for those videos coming up. So that's going to sum it up for the first phase of the videos coming out, which is going to be lure selection. Thank you for battling your ADHD with me and staying through the video. Stay tuned for the next ones coming up. Check out my other videos where I catch some really cool fish here in Costa Rica. Please like, share, and subscribe. We have some great stuff coming. We're a growing channel, and I appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Cheers. Oh, Gallo! Woo! Yeah! That's it, baby. That one's screaming. That's a good size one. Whoa, that's a big grande gallo.